I instruct Channel 31 to start live streaming the meeting. Thank you. Womanjika. This is a word in the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung language meaning welcome. I am the Mayor, Councillor Bruce Lancashire. I declare this meeting open at 7 p.m. I would like to welcome members of the public who have joined us in the chamber tonight. Members of the public attending council and committee meetings are expected to behave respectfully at all times and not permitted to engage with the councillors or council officers during the course of the meeting. Officers are employees who have a right to be safe and treated with respect in their workplace. You may be asked to leave the meeting if your behaviour is considered inappropriate, disruptive, or rude. We will not tolerate any behaviour that threatens the safety of anyone present in the chamber or which disrupts the ability for council to conduct its business on behalf of the community. In the unlikely event of an emergency, please follow the direction of council officers and the emergency procedures on the wall near the door. I would like to note that I have given approval for Channel 31 to live stream this meeting. A recording of the meeting will be published on Council's website. Please stand for the acknowledgement of country. We, on behalf of Brimbank City Council, I respectfully acknowledge and recognise the Wurundjeri and Bunurong peoples as the traditional custodians of this land and pay respects to their elders past, present and future. I ask the councillors to remain standing for the council commitment. Others may be seated. As the council, we will act in the best interests of the Brimbank community and consider the immediate and long-term impacts of our decisions. We will make these decisions fairly and without bias. We will uphold all of our obligations under the laws of Victoria and Council's local laws and will act in accordance with our code of conduct. Councillors, please be seated. Apologies and leave of absence. Councillor Borg, Councillor Branton, Councillor Kerr and Councillor Rassick have submitted an apology for this meeting and Councillor David is on leave of absence. Councillor Tarkos has submitted a request for a leave of absence for the period from the 25th of July to the 6th of September 2023, and Councillor Rassick has submitted a request for a leave of absence from the period from the 16th of July to the 20th of August 2023. May I have a mover of a motion to grant the requests? Councillor Nguyen. Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Dang. All those in favour? Motion carried. Councillors, I wish to lodge a notice of motion and may wish to speak to items on the agenda at this meeting. Due to the absence of the Deputy Mayor at this meeting, I note that under section 27.11 of the Brimbank Governance Rules, I must vacate the chair if I wish to move the item or speak to any other items, and the council must appoint a temporary chair. May I have a mover of a motion to appoint a temporary chair from a councillor volunteer for the consideration of item 13.4 and any other items that I need to speak to as per the shared screen. Do I have a a mover of that motion? Sorry, Councillor Tarkos.
Mr Mayor, I move the motion as per business papers. Thank you.
Do I have and the councillor?
For Councillor Nguyen to, when you vacate, to become the temporary chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor O'Reilly.
I second the motion as per the shared screen.
Thank you, Councillor Tuckers. Do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor O'Reilly, do you wish to speak to the motion? Does any councillor wish to speak for the motion or against the motion? I will now put the motion to the vote. The motion is carried. Are there any declarations of conflicts of interest? Designation of items as confidential. Do I have a mover of the motion?
Mr Mayor, I move the motion as per business papers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Papalia has seconded the motion. I will put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. May I have a mover of a motion to confirm the minutes of the previous council meetings?
I move the motion as per shared screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Papalia. Do I have a seconder?
I second as per shared screen. Thank you.
Councillor Tarkos has seconded the motion. Does anyone wish to speak for or against? I move the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Condolences. There are no items of condolences this evening. Congratulations. There is one item of congratulations this evening. LG Pros and Parks and Leisure Australia's Awards of Excellence. Do I have a mover of the motion?
Mr Mayor, I move the motion as per business papers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Do I have a seconder of the motion?
Yes, I second the motion. Thank you.
Councillor Papalia seconds the motion. Councillor Tarkos, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to advise that there are two awards within this congratulations motion. The first one is the LGP Bros Awards for Excellence. I would like to congratulate Brimbank City Council on receiving the LGP Bros Award for Excellence in Innovation Management initiative for the Child Safe eLearn module development. Brimbank Council has led a working group which converted the new child safe standards subject material into an e-learning format that could be applied on a multiple of learning platforms and help equip staff with the tools and the knowledge to help keep children safe from harm and abuse. There are now 34 councils across Victoria using the Child Safe eLearn module to conduct internal child safety training. At the same awards, Brimbank also received a high commendation in the Service Delivery Initiative category for Brimbank Neighbourhood House Units Program Hospitality Skills Training and Mentoring Program. The second award, which is something that's really exciting, is the Parks and Leisure Award Australia Award of Excellence. I would like to congratulate the Brimbank Aquatic and Wellness Centre on receiving 2 Parks and Leisure Australia Awards of Excellence. The Brimbank Aquatic and Wellness Centre was awarded the Community Facility of the Year, which recognises facilities that demonstrate innovative features of design, development and operation, environmental stewardship, which celebrates and acknowledges those who protect nature parks, improve climate resilience, ensure sustainability, care for our land, as well as champion all these areas. The Brimbank Aquatic Wellness Centre is Australia's first 6-star, Green Star, 100% renewable energy powered, zero greenhouse gas emissions aquatic centre and home to one of the largest rooftop solar PV systems on the Australian aquatic centre scene. Glengala Road Pocket Park and the Carey Street Nature Escape, a project in partnership between Brimbank City Council, Department of Energy, Environmental and Climate Action and Koori Homework Club, were finalists in the Park of the Year as the Place Space Award categories. Just wanted to read out that I'm very proud that the Bourke Leisure Centre is another important achievement. A lot of people were saying in the previous council that it would be a white elephant. And I remember that people were concerned about that we were going to build something that would never get the memberships. We expected 3,000 memberships, but we are now well in excess of 10,000. So the aspiration that this council showed in developing innovation and providing a co-located services, which wasn't mentioned, I thought was highly progressive for our council to do as well. So I just wanted to thank all the officers that supported our strategic, planning, and it's a facility that we can all be really proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Is there any other council would like to speak for the motion, against the motion? All those in favour? Motion is carried. Public question time. Ms. Blatchford, I understand we have received questions from members of the public.
We have received 6 questions from the public, Mr. Mayor. The first question this evening is from Jeanette Salami. What assets are owned by Brimbank City Council?
Thank you, Ms. Blatchford. Brimbank City Council is responsible for the management of approximately $2.7 billion of public infrastructure, which provides essential services and supports that underpin community health and well-being. This includes over 900 kilometres of roads, 292 buildings, 1,600 kilometres of footpaths and shared paths, 1,300 kilometres of stormwater pipes, almost 47,000 stormwater pits, over 300 public parks and reserves, and 386 plant, fleet and equipment. Council officers have offered to liaise directly with the resident to better understand the context for the inquiry and to provide further detail if necessary. Thank you.
Second question this evening from Jeanette Salami. How often are our curbs or streets cleaned in the Brimbank City Council? With all the extra trees planted, they need to step up and do it more often, especially during autumn and winter.
Thank you, Ms. Blatchford. Council undertakes street sweeping in accordance with the following program. Residential roads are swept on a 6-week cycle. Commercial activity centres are swept 6 nights per week. Industrial areas are swept fortnightly, and autumn sweeping of heavy leaf litter areas are undertaken every 3 weeks. In addition, Council also responds to reactive requests as required.
Our third question this evening is from Shannon Milak. In accordance with section 57.14 of the governance rules, all questions and answers must be as brief as possible. As a result, the preamble of this question will not be read out. Will Council make a commitment to online inclusion for disabled people, and how will that commitment be implemented?
Thank you. Council is committed to providing a diverse range of programs in response to community need and feedback. Council will continue to offer some online programs and events and continue to seek feedback to ensure that the programs offered are in response to community need and are offered in the most appropriate delivery method.
Our fourth question this evening is from Shannon Milak. In accordance with section 57.14 of the governance rules, all questions and answers must be as brief as possible, and as a result, a part of the preamble of this question will not be read out. The draft budget for Brimbank City Council was recently released and open to feedback. The budget allocates $12 million, the second highest investment in the budget, to upgrading sports facilities within the municipality. As such, will Brimbank allocate a portion of this sports funding to programming that accommodates the aforementioned groups within the disabled community in an effort to ensure that these facilities and community sports programs are truly inclusive of everyone in our community?
Thank you. Council Sports Facility Development Plan informs Council's investments in sports facilities across Brimbank, which is funded through Council's capital budget. All upgrades consider the required legislation, including Disability Discrimination Act, to ensure upgrades are available and support inclusion on people of all abilities in the Brimbank community. Council provides the facilities which are on a licence or lease to Brimbank sports clubs, who they provide the services to the community from the facility. Sports clubs are supported by their relevant state sporting associations in developing and delivering a range of programs to suit people of differing abilities. Council programs and services are funded through Council's annual operational budget, with services and programs provided through facilities managed by Council.
Our fifth question this evening is from Kim Cullen. In accordance with section 57.14 of the governance rules, all questions and answers must be as brief as possible. As a result, the preamble of this question will not be read out. How do the Brimbank councillors aim to protect children from being unduly influenced by having sexually explicit messages that tell our children it's okay to be LGBTI+, when in the course of childhood and adolescence, only a very small percentage would ever be affected?
Thank you. Brimbank Council values and celebrates all members of our vibrant and diverse community and is committed to fighting discrimination, creating a welcoming, safe and inclusive community for everyone who lives, works and visits our municipality. This includes advocating for, supporting and embracing our LGBTQIA+ community and their loved ones and friends. The draft LGBTQIA+ action plan is one of many council initiatives that ensure our service and programs are inclusive of all community members. It is an action of the Together We Are Brimbank Plan 2021 to 2025 that aims to support safe and inclusive communities. Council is strongly committed to protecting children and LGBTQIA. Quiet, please. Council is strongly committed to protecting children and LGBTQIA+. Inclusion is highlighted in our Safe Child Standards, a set of legislated standards for organisations that work with children and young people under the age of 18 to best support them and keep them safe from harm and abuse. Quiet, please.
Our sixth question is from Kim Cullen. My second question addresses the consultation that are to be held. In the draft plan as outlined, I have read this, there is a 4-week period when the public can put in submissions in regard to how this plan would affect them. How is the community to be informed of the facts and issues in regard to the draft plan, and is this to be sent without both sides of the story being represented to households and businesses in the Brimbank Shire?
Thank you. Pending council endorsement, the Brimbank community will be consulted on the draft LGBTQIA+ actions plan via the Your Say web portal. The full plan and links to further information will be provided to assist members of the community in providing their feedback. Thank you. Petitions. Thank you. There are no petitions this evening. Minutes, reports of delegated committees. There are no minutes of delegated committees. Officer reports. There are 7 officer reports for consideration by council tonight. If you have an alternate or amended motions for this evening, you must draft these motions and provide to the governance team via email so that they may be shared on screen and form part of the meeting. Otherwise, we may have to defer the matter until the motion has been written, allowing the meeting to proceed uninterrupted. 12.1, final draft annual budget, final draft annual action plan, year 3, 2023 to 2024. Mr. Maher.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present the final draft annual budget and final draft council plan annual action plan for year 3 for the years 2023-24 to council for adoption. Informed by 2 stages of community consultation, the final draft budget outlines council's financial commitments towards a range of important services, programs and infrastructure. The final draft council plan action plan year 3 demonstrates council's responsibility for 109 actions that contribute to the implementing the strategic directions and objectives of our Together We Are Brimbank council plan. Following an initial stage of community consultation in September and October 2022 that informed development of the draft documents, both documents were released for further community consultation after the April council meeting. Written submissions were received from 155 people and more than 200 people provided input through in-person engagement activities during April and May this year. Feedback and input from community was evaluated and has resulted in updates to the draft annual budget and the annual action plan 23-24. In summary, the recommendation is that Council, having considered the community consultation and submissions report, adopts the final draft annual budget and adopts the final draft council plan annual action plan year 3, and that we write to submitters thanking them for their feedback on advising of council's decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maher. And
Mr. Mayor.
sorry, if I'll just read. Yeah. The annual budget and the annual plan action plan, the council plan action plan 2023-24, is a very significant document within council's processes. Accordingly, I would like to make some comments on these significant documents through the chair. Council's annual budget and year 3 council plan action plan strongly demonstrate and shape our ongoing commitment to the delivery of a range of important council services, programs and infrastructure in 2023-2024. Over the next year, Council will invest significantly in capital works and other services, projects and initiatives that prioritise our community's health and well-being, improve our parks, roads and town centres, upgrade sporting and community facilities, focus on sustainability projects and respond to climate emergency. This budget will see an investment of $55.9 million. Please be quiet. This budget will see an investment of $55.9 million in capital works for new and upgraded infrastructure and includes $12 million for sports facility upgrades and enhancements, $25 million to improve roads and footpaths, $6.3 million for playgrounds, parks and gardens, $2.2 million for improvements to community facilities, $1.4 million for traffic management, $830,000 for town centre improvements, $500,000 for sustainability projects. Our annual action plan for 2023-24 includes 109 actions that respond to what our community told us was important. The delivery of these actions is fundamental in progressing Council's vision for a transformed Brimbank that is beautiful, thriving, healthy and connected. We thank the community for helping shape our budget and annual action plan by providing feedback during Council's extensive community engagement and consultation processes. We look forward to delivering the many vital programs and services that will help us continue to build a strong and resilient Brimbank community. Along with my fellow councillors, I commend Brimbank's annual budget and annual action plan year 3 for the 2023-2024 financial year. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I move a motion as per shared screen. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, as per that shared screen, there's the addition in the red that I wish to add to the officer recommendation.
That, Councillor Papalia.
Yes, I move that Councillor Tarkos' motion as per shared screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tarkos, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors. The exceptional facilities and parks that we build are what our community want and need right now. Coming out of a COVID pandemic, the demand on our facilities is unprecedented. The growth of sports and physical recreation and park visitation at an all-time high. So it makes sense that our council, where possible, through strong partnerships with clubs, with the state government, that we together deliver facilities they need. This is my second term as a councillor, and the same priorities remain: upgrading and redeveloping and improving sports and community facilities across Brimbank. We are at the precipice of achieving this with this particular sports club that I've mentioned, and with a proud 100-year history in football and cricket, a club that has grown and evolved to provide pathways for women in football and also cricket. I was there when the first girls' cricket team began with the under administration, and I have seen girls grow to become absolute stars, with one currently on the number 1 draft pick, Montana Hahn, coming straight from our community clubs. This is a grassroots club. It's reliant on volunteers. It receives no money from pokies. It's a family club that connects many parents to build lasting and strong friendships, as do the many kids who become lifelong friends. It's an important interface for Keilor, and many people have been involved in some level or attended a game at the village. But as time progresses, the growth of this club, which is over 1,400 members, has made the current club facility unsustainable, which is why I stand here today to provide the evidence I believe provides a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to upgrade this facility with partnership funding from the state government. Not to do half a job, but to do a completed job, just as we did with the leisure centre. It's something that we can walk away and be completely proud of. And it's oversubscribed. And this is the same with all our clubs. And this in particular requires a purpose-built facility within its footprint through a staged construction plan that will require an additional monies that I have now added within this new motion, but we'll need to pass stringent checks and balances with the council for it to proceed, which requires a further report. So with the indulgence of you, Mr. Mayor, and with councillors, I hope that you can support this amended motion. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak in favour of the motion?
Thank
Councillor
you.
Papalia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, just to echo what Councillor Tarkos has said and thank her on the work that she's done on this, Sports Club are at the heart of our community, and this is a shovel-ready project with significant state, community and private funding, and I do see this as a rare opportunity to achieve a major project and walk away from something that we can all be proud of at the conclusion. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to make a brief statement and therefore transfer the chair to Councillor Nguyen.
Okay, hi. You can say your point.
Thank you. Look, I can certainly say we have been very diligent in how we've approached this matter. We certainly believe that the additional money that's proposed, there was 150,000 in the budget for this. There's another 550,000, making 700,000, which matches the state grant that's put forward. And of course, other groups are putting in, including the club, putting in substantial amounts of money. and certainly working very hard to make this proposal a reality. The staff and the community, the club, councillors have all worked, and I've been very impressed, all worked very hard to make sure the checks and balances are in place to see this project will go ahead and will be successful. And of course, we are very keen as councillors to see as much work done in our term as possible. There is certainly the money in the budget to do this, and as such, I too would like to thank all those involved in achieving this result, and would also like to support the proposal. Thank you.
Okay, as the Mayor has finished speaking, I'm now pass the chair back to the Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen, for that. Okay, did anyone else want to speak to the motion? Councillor Nguyen?
Yes, I would like to speak to the motion. Yes, so last year I had the opportunity to attend the facilities of the Keilor Sports Club, along with other councillors, including Councillor Tarkos here as well. And we had a meeting with Minister Ben Carroll as well. And the council's very supportive in helping the club get the funding that they require to upgrade the kitchen and toilet facilities. And furthermore, as you can tell, demand always outstrips supply. And I'm sure lots of communities and sport clubs would love to get the facilities upgraded. So it's a very tricky and difficult task in terms of budget allocation. And Council has also done some work to review our sports facility development plan. And as you can see, with a big council, a lot of facilities, and as with anything that needs to be rebuilt or with our recapitalization works, that they are assessed in terms of needs and priorities if we are to update things strategically. And with this review, we have found that, yes, the kitchen and toilet upgrades for the Keilor Sports has been higher up on the list. However, and then that is shown here because we did allocate $150,000 towards the kitchen upgrade along with the state government's contribution. Renewal works, they have a high priority need. I do believe they have an urgent priority need. And we also need to understand that whenever we build something, we need to go through due process, especially with significant works over $300,000. In this case, $700K from the state government, $200K from Melbourne Airport, and I understand the club itself has raised a lot of money, so that needs to go through a tender process. We need to ensure there is competitors when there's contractors to be done, because we need to ensure that we need to minimize risk as much as possible. And it's very important that we go through this with probity and make sure that we don't go outside procurement policy. That's important as a standard. So I do have concerns about that because we still need a lot more work to be done to get to that point. We still need a permit. And like I said, I'm not suggesting that these upgrades aren't welcomed. It's just that there needs to be a due process that needs to be ticked off. And yeah, and I'm aware there are other clubs and organizations that don't even have a facility. So I just really want to be equitable and fair how we go about it. But it's not to say that the council has not done things to support this club, because we have done these actions, but for this budget, I do think there are more urgent priorities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Tarkos, you have a right to reply.
Okay. I'd like to say that we will be going through the probity that you mentioned, Councillor Nguyen, quantity survey report, traffic management report, parking, arborist report. Plans have been lodged with planning. There is an extensive checklist of checks and balances that this process has to go through, and another report will be required, as well as outlined in my motion that I've put together. However, I want to look at the positive outcomes that will come out of this, and there is a real need. And you said that we have given money before to this club. That's because it's needed it, and because in the past it hasn't always received funding allocation. We have an opportunity now with the shovel ready project, where it's ready to go. It's not disadvantaging, as far as I'm aware, any other project. Any other project that goes through the review process will be completely supported by this council. However, this is an opportunity where we have moved it up because it is received a grant, and also it has gone through some of the due diligence, but there's another report to come through. So I urge councillors to please reread the amended motion, that it will go through another report phase, and it's an in principle support for the additional maximum of the 550,000. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to put the motion, the alternate motion, to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried. Item 12.2, Planning Activity Update and Delegate Decisions and Planning Scheme Amendments Update, May 2023. Mr Walsh.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report is to provide Council an update on the status of planning permit applications and trends in planning approvals in Brimbank, decisions made under delegated authority in May regarding planning permits and other matters, and the status of current planning scheme amendments as at the 31st of May of this year. Officers recommend that Council notes the planning activity update and delegated decision report and the decisions made that are detailed at attachment 1, and also that Council notes the planning scheme amendment summary at attachment 3. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of Mr Walsh? Do we have a mover of the motion? Councillor Papalia?
Yes, I move the motion.
Do we have a seconder of the motion?
I move the motion as per shared screen.
Councillor Tarkos? Yeah, where was I? Sorry.
It's moved in second, just to throw it back to Councillor.
Yeah, right. Do you wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Papalia, do you anyone else wish to speak to the motion or against the motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion carried. 12.3, Planning Application P371 2022 for 28 Rockbank Road, Ardea. Mr Walsh.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider an assessment of a planning application for the construction of 7 double-storey dwellings on land partly within land subject to inundation overlay at 28 Rockbank Road, Ardea, against the provisions of the Brimbank planning scheme. Officers recommend that Council issues a notice of decision to grant the planning permit for the construction of the 7 double-storey dwellings at 28 Rockbank Road, Ardea, subject to a range of conditions detailed at attachment 5 to the report. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Walsh. Any questions of Mr Walsh? Do I have a mover of the motion? Councillor Papalia?
I move the motion as per shared screen. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Do I have a seconder of the motion?
I second the motion as per the shared screen.
Councillor O'Reilly? Is there, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to share, I have heard from the objectors in this matter, and I understand this is a big project, seven dwellings. I do understand the concerns. After my visit,
Quiet, please. Continue, Councillor.
in hearing
Papalia.
in hearing our priorities for affordable housing, I think this presents a great opportunity to the area. I also acknowledge the parking concerns. I think in this particular development, providing the double garages was wise. I have seen the original and the new plan, and I must say it has improved significantly. So I do support this development. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Papalia. Councillor O'Reilly, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Does anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Takos?
Yes, I wish to speak against it, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, there is a planning proposal here to build 7 double-storey houses on 28 Rockbank Road. 28 Rockbank Road lies between the cross intersection of Lawrence Street and a bend in the road of Rockbank Road. It is only a stretch of approximately 100 metres. In this stretch, there is 16 properties with driveways that lead onto the road. There are 27 houses within this small stretch of road. The residents previously objected to this plan for 9 double-storey houses. There were over 30 objections. Council refused this application. The applicant appealed it to VCAT and it was refused. This is a new application, but the same issues exist. A mass of properties within a small stretch and a proposal that does not fit in with the characteristics of the neighbourhood. Although Council recommended, the proposal still has the same issues and concerns. The objectors last week at the planning forum spoke up about accidents involving their cars due to the already high density of properties within this area. They spoke about the lack of parking that is already present. The proposal will adversely affect the neighbourhood and it is not consistent with the neighbourhood character. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Takos. Does anyone else wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Papalia, you have a right of reply.
No, thank you.
Thank you. All those in favour of the motion? All those against the motion?
So you just need to announce that you've got.
I'll exercise. The Mayor will exercise a
Casting vote.
casting vote, yes. Sorry. The Mayor will exercise a casting vote. I will vote in favour of the application.
Of course you will. No one's surprised. No one's surprised that you're voting for it. We are the people.
Just like motion carried and move on.
Motion carried.
Money under the table.
Thank you. 12.4, planning application P45 2021 for 13
Mr. Mayor, the purpose of this report is for Council to consider an assessment of a planning application for the construction of 2 additional dwellings to the side of the existing dwelling at 13 McDonald Court, Taylors Lakes, against the provision of the Brimbank planning scheme. Officers recommend that the Council issues a notice of decision. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Was there any questions of Mr. Walsh? Thank you. Do I have a mover of the motion?
I move the motion as per shared screen. Thank you.
Councillor Papalia, move the motion. Do we have a seconder of the motion? Councillor Dang. Thank you. Councillor Papalia, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Look, I've seen both sides to this one. I understand it's gone through VCAT. I understand we're here because of the concerns regarding noise. which have been checked by two individual reports or experts, I should say, and I'm satisfied with the response. So I support this development. Thank you.
Councillor Dang, do you wish to speak to the motion? Does anyone else wish to speak to the motion?
I wish to speak against the motion.
Those wishing to speak, Councillor Tarkos, wishing to speak against the motion, thank you.
Thank you. I would just like to say that I attended this planning forum as well, and I believe that the residents employed a specialist in the noise technician firm. Now, people that are so concerned about their health that they're willing to take that step because we know that noise specialists are not cheap, are obviously concerned about the health impacts of ongoing noise. So on that basis, I'm not convinced that this planning application is providing that certainty around the noise issue in which was raised at the planning forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak against the motion? All those in favour of the motion? All those against the motion? Thank you. The Mayor will cast a casting vote on this matter. I will vote in favour of the application. The motion is carried. (12.5) Draft LGBTQIA+
This report is presented to Council for consideration for endorsement of the draft LGBTQIA+ Action Plan 2023 to 2027 for community consultation for a period of 4 weeks. Initial consultation to inform the draft of this action plan were held between April and December 2022. More than 300 people who identify as part of the LGBTQIA+ community, allies, Brimbank Council staff, school staff, and representatives of organisations working with the LGBTQIA+ community actively contributed to the consultations. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Excuse me to each of you here who is acting in a disruptive manner. You are disrupting the meeting by your actions. If you continue to interrupt us in this way, I will have no choice but direct you to leave the meeting.
Can you make me yourself?
Yes.
Okay, yourself.
Now, thank you.
Yourself, Mayor. Come and make me, mate.
So you can just say, I'm sorry, I went to the gallery, if you didn't stop, I would have no choice but to leave.
What are you doing? You're supposed to be parents.
I went in the gallery, if it didn't stop, I would have no choice to direct you to leave the meeting.
I am sorry, councillors. Please hold on. I warned you in the gallery that if you don't stop, I would have no choice but direct you to leave the meeting. I can see.
No, just
So,
yep, so then under rule, say that and then ask direct the CEO and get security to the rest.
Under Rule 72 of Council's governance rules, I am now ordering you
All of you
to leave the meeting because your conduct is disrupting the meeting. Please leave the meeting immediately. If you don't leave the meeting, I will ask the CEO to ask security to have you removed. I will now adjourn the meeting for a short break while we vacate the room. Thank you. I recommence the meeting at 8:07. I believe we were up to 12.5 and Ms Dumble had completed her summation of the draft report. Thank you. Are there any questions of Ms Dumble? Do I have a mover of the motion? Councillor Nguyen.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. I would like to move the motion as per the shared screen. So I'd like to move that Council endorses the draft LGBTIQA plus action plan for 2023 to 2027. And also the inclusion of, as part of the consultation feedback, seek the potential establishment of a LGBTIQA plus advisory group to Council. And as for point C, you can see on the shared screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder of that? Councillor Papalia.
Yes, I'd like to second the motion. Thank you.
Councillor Nguyen, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, just quite succinctly, that I'm quite proud that our council is trying to be as inclusive as they can to the community, and considering that 1 in 10 Australians identify as part of the rainbow community, and by simply just for the fact that identifying as being part of the community, if they're if they feel safe to do so, they face so much discrimination, and they do need help. There are high incidents of suicide rates, mental health illnesses, due to who they are, to just being who they are. And, I think council has come a long way to get to this point of establishing an action plan to show that we really are dedicated to doing real action about helping the people in need in our community, including minorities. And we're going to go further to even consider during the consultation feedback for advisory committee. And look, everybody is entitled to their opinions. They can provide it in the consultation process, but we want to do this in the most respectful way possible. And I'm glad that council has come to this point. It's taken a while, but we're here now with the action plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. Councillor Papalia, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to thank council on the work done on this action plan, and there's clearly community need. LGBTQIA plus communities experience actual and perceived discrimination and marginalisation at higher levels than the rest of the population. I think that was evident tonight. This experience is associated with economic disadvantage, poor mental health, and poor physical health outcomes, and reduced community engagement and social connection. So as part of this action plan, a series of strategic actions are presented in the draft LGBTQIA plus action plan, which have been identified through research and consultation. These reflect council's roles in providing a safe and inclusive community for all people identifying as part of the LGBTQIA plus community and their allies. Thanks. I commend this report to council.
Thank you, Councillor Papalia. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion? Councillor Tarkos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a council, in accordance with the Social Justice Charter, it is incumbent on us to treat everyone with fairness and equity. We must speak up against any discrimination and hate, and provide a safe and inclusive environment for all, irrespective of language, religion, politics, ethnicity, gender, socio-economic status, geographic or postcode location, sexuality, ability, or age. I'm particularly concerned myself about the young people who it is outlined that 60.2% have felt unsafe or uncomfortable in schools and in our municipality and not felt included. We are a very highly diverse municipality, and we all live knowing that it is our diversity that makes us stronger and unique. I'm proud that our council embraces diversity in all its forms and provides a safe space for everyone to thrive. I look forward to hearing our community's response to this draft action plan and supporting a safe and inclusive community within Brimbank, and to remind everyone that, yes, our diversity is our strength. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Would anyone else like to speak in favour of this motion? Would anyone like to speak against this motion? I'll move the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 12.6, Governance Report, June 2023. Ms Hill?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Governance Report is a standing report within the Council meeting agenda. It's predominantly a summary of key operational and governance activity written in compliance with the Local Government Act 1989 and 2020. In this month's report, Council is recommended to note the report, note contracts entered into and works orders approved in accordance with S7 delegation, note works orders approved by the CEO in accordance with the contract for the provision of civil works and authorise outstanding payments. Note and approve contract variations for the reconstruction of Moore Park Reserve Ardeer. Resolve to make delegations to officers through the updated instrument of delegations and sub-delegations, and note that they'll be uploaded to Council's website. Endorse the draft governance rules for community consultation for a period of 3 weeks and receive a further report at the conclusion of the consultation period. And that Council grants a request for freedom of entry to the City of Brimbank to the Australian Army 30 Army Cadets Unit on the 12th of November 2023. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Hill. Does anyone have a question of Ms Hill? Thank you. Do I have a mover of the motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move the motion as per shared screen.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Do I have a seconder of the motion? Councillor O'Reilly.
I second the motion as per the shared screen.
Councillor Tarkos, would you like to speak to the motion?
I'd just like to congratulate our department, and particularly with the extensive work that went into this report, but I also like to thank the Advocacy Department for all its exceptional work in our recent ALGA reconnaissance there, and the success in our notices of motion, and that took a lot of work and preparation, so thank you for all the work that went into it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor O'Reilly, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Does anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak against the motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Sydenham Park. I would like to move this motion. Accordingly, I would request that the Chair move to Councillor Nguyen.
Thank you. May I please ask Mr. Chris Levers to present this report?
Yes, thanks, Acting Mayor. Council resolves as part of the 2022-23 Quarter 3 Finance Report in May to receive a report on the status of works at Sydenham Park. There are a number of projects being planned and delivered in Sydenham Park. And this report provides an update on the various elements. The report notes that Sydenham Park is a sensitive site due to cultural and environmental factors and a range of external stakeholders. Projects within the precinct are being delivered by staff across a range of council departments and involve numerous external stakeholders. An internal cross-branch steering group has been established to monitor and manage these projects. A consultative committee including community stakeholders is also being established, with the appointment of an independent chair expected in June. And although I can't announce the chair at this meeting, the chair should be announced in the coming weeks. A summary of the status of the various projects is provided on page 9 of the report, and notes that whilst there are some minor delays, most works are on track. Thank you, Mayor. Acting Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Levers. Councillors, any questions for the Director, please? No questions. I understand the Mayor would like to move a motion.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I would like to move the officer's recommendation as in the notice paper.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Is there a seconder? Councillor Tarkos?
Thank you, Acting Chair. I would like to move the motion as per shared screen.
Thank you. Councillor Lancashire, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Acting Mayor. I guess when it comes to Sydenham Park, my involvement there goes back a long way. I think it was 20 or maybe even 30 years ago. The council had discussions with, and I'm going to dob him in, Peter Brock, to sell a large part of the park for a driver racing course. Of course, there was Calder Park Raceway diagonally opposite, which did the same thing. And I can remember talking to Bob Jane about it and concerned that we were going to lose a very big chunk of our park. And Bob Jane said, well, don't worry, Bruce, he's not very good. He's a great racing car driver, but he's not too good with finances. It won't happen. And of course, thankfully, it didn't happen. And then we jumped forward 20, 30 years, and I got on council and found that the park was under threat again and the golf course was under threat again, and have worked fairly tirelessly to see a great deal of change. In many cases, it was simply just making sure that we kept this incredible park, which is our largest park. And it's not too far from the Keilor Skull, which set the benchmark for started to talk about the age of the Aboriginal settlement in Australia. It went back 30 years. The park itself sits in a ravine and the confluence of three rivers, which is the beginning of the Maribyrnong. And again, I always thought the Maribyrnong started up in the hills. It actually starts in Brimbank Park. It's quite incredible. So again, Mr. Levers, thank you so much for this report. It's excellent. And the work that's been done by all the officers in getting it up. The Sydenham Park Master Plan, the adoption of that is a very important document for this park. The changing of the name of Sydenham Park. It's some distance from Sydenham. And this idea came from the community to change the name and to an Aboriginal name. And I think that's incredibly appropriate for a park that we see as having significant conservation, environmental, tourism, well-being aspects to its sporting facilities. The establishment of the Sydenham Park Consultative Committee. Again, this is an innovation of council on our largest park, that you do have various groups on the site, from model aircraft to golf, to conservation groups. This will allow a whole of park approach to be taken for its future consideration and development. The Sydenham Park Master Plan Stage 1 and Stage 2 works. Well, of course, later this year, we will all have the honour of seeing Stage 1 opening up, which is absolutely fantastic. We've seen on this, our largest park, signs which say, keep out. To have these paths open and to allow people to go through this is fantastic. Robertson's Homestead Restoration and Shearing Shed, one of our most significant heritage buildings in this municipality, and we certainly do have an obligation to restore these buildings and convert them to possibly a social enterprise cafe or something like that. It's right near the edge of the valley. From that edge you can see the airport, Melbourne City. You can almost always see kangaroos when you go into Sydenham Park, which is 15 minutes away from the airport and what the tourists really do want to see. The Sydenham Park Consultative Committee forms part of this, and as indicated, this is about to take off, and this will be a great way to look at not silos, but in fact look
1 minute left, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. But to look at the all aspects of the park. Sydenham Park Potential Community and Sport Hub. Of course, we were very thrilled to get $500,000 towards developing the sporting concepts for this park through the local member, Natalie Hutchins. Very much appreciated. Changing the name of Sydenham Park, as I mentioned, this is something that will have to evolve through the Aboriginal community representatives and the community, and there'll be a process to go through. But again, as we approach the voice and matters like this, and the particular effort that this council puts in for our Indigenous community, changing the name is something that will be quite exciting for us to see occur. So, with all of those exciting things happening to our largest park, thank you very much, Acting Mayor, for those comments, and I certainly do recommend this report to my fellow councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Tarkos as a seconder, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Fantastic presentation there, Mr. Mayor. This is for me one of the most exciting openings that for our council. It's a key progress report which has been absolutely mind-blowingly put together, surpasses all of our expectations. When we sat in the council in the first term, we were looking at an old master plan. It was a rocky road ahead with the council. There's a lot of passion in this particular park, and understandably we can't get things moving fast enough, but to get to where we are now, I cannot commend our officers for the amount of work and challenging work they've put in to get to this stage. This park is perhaps the last large vestige of unique and undisturbed conservation and cultural and environmental values in Brimbank. To get to our stage one with completion of the new shared user path is indeed one of the most exciting steps that I have experienced and looking forward to. The park will include bridges that are respectful and also implement the no-dig approach, respecting Wurundjeri values. It has been discovered along Jackson's Creek all along that area that now has become a very protected area because of the values. This will translate into this park being even more important and special. The cleanup of the park was done very respectfully and collaboratively with archaeologists, Indigenous representatives to ensure the relocation of artefacts that were uncovered. We are now preparing for the stage one opening later in the year, where our community will finally be able to glimpse something special of this incredible and unique biodiversity and cultural edifice through a circuit path from Kings Road, called the Freeway Interchange, and into Sydenham Park, passing near the model aircraft facility along the top of the magical escarpment, then joining to the Far Parkway, along past the Keilor Golf Course and car park, and back to the interchange, which will also incorporate a viewing platform and nature play and rest area. For people in the area, this will be an ideal place to escape, have a picnic, or just even look into the, as you said, the kangaroos freely roaming. This is an exciting first step to make the park accessible in a respectful way and to learn more about our Indigenous cultural heritage, our unique biodiversity, and our history spanning millions of years, some of it showing traces with the rocky escarpments that repeat along Jackson's Creek, which will be renamed also to Big Water, where many of our first people lived, fished, and lived in harmony with the land and with the waterways. I look forward to the Indigenous name change that is also respectful of the whole of this area and the waterways and the surroundings to better reflect the unique and treasured importance of this place to our First Peoples. As the new tourism portfolio holder, I'm also really excited about the opportunity this will present for a local, national and international tourism, an opportunity where people can discover something different about Brimbank that they don't usually see in other areas. Quite unique and important, a real opportunity to view a part of our municipality.
Councillor Tarkos.
Thank you. Municipality that is truly serene, beautiful, pristine, and in many ways a moment in time in evolution that is now protected and preserved for all of us to be appreciated and learnt about. Thank you.
Thank you. Would any other councillors like to speak on this motion, for or against? Okay, I'll put the motion to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion carries. Okay, I'd like to drop the mic back to Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Nguyen. Item 13, notices of motion. There are 5 notices of motion. 13.1, urgent action on bus reforms in the West. Councillor Tarkos.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I would like to move the motion as per shared screen.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder of this motion? Councillor Nguyen.
Yes, I would like to second it. Thank you.
Councillor Tarkos, would you like to speak to this motion?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. The Victorian Government in its latest budget announced it would slash funding for public transport, the public service and health. We also have recently heard that the Melbourne Airport rail link will be on hold indefinitely due to budget blowouts and stalemates. Where does this put Brimbank? In a pretty poor position, in fact, going backwards, because as our population continues to grow, with the West being the main growth corridor, the services that are vital to supporting that growth, like transport, health, schools, is in fact going backwards. This is why I have put this urgent notice of motion to acknowledge that while major promise projects are being slashed or put on hold, we need bus reform. Why? More than ever, bus reform can be achieved with less funding and time as well. Than a major project such as the Melbourne Airport rail link that could take years and lots of negotiations to achieve. We already have buses here, but what we need to do is improve the efficiency and the movement of these buses to activity centres, to jobs hubs, to services, to hospitals, to where people need to get to TAFEs, to schools. We have examples in the West where we have no bus routes in major thoroughfares through, for example, Deer Park and Kenlee, yet we have courtesy buses taking people to the pokies. That's actually insulting to our community. This is outrageous and an indictment on the people in the West. It's very important that a 25-minute trip to a major activity centre for a job or a shop or for shopping in the West equates to a 2.5 to 3 hour bus trip, rendering it as not acceptable option. Why so many people in the West have become so car reliant, and why so many people are also at the point with cost of living struggling to maintain cars and petrol. It's becoming something that's quite out of reach. So, Mr. Mayor, in Dr. Laura Aston's article, Planning for Better Buses in Melbourne's West, it said that with the cost of living pressures and emissions and our status as the second most disadvantaged municipality in Victoria, creating better bus connections to schools, services, train stations, city centres, the airport and jobs hubs would make a big difference. I'm asking for Ben Carroll to urgently consider the focus of Brimbank to become the home for Better Buses network based here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Councillor Nguyen, would you like to?
Quite briefly, yeah, we need better bus systems in the West. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak in favour of this motion or against this motion? All those in favour of this motion? Motion is carried. 13.2, state funding for bicycle education classes.
Mr. Mayor, I move the motion as per shared screen.
Do we have a seconder for this motion? Councillor Dang? Thank you. Councillor Tarkos, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to say that a couple of meetings ago I stood here and talked about the importance of state government subsidising swimming programs. As the cost of living again bites, a lot of parents and families are struggling to send their kids to swimming programs. It might be okay for one child, but if they have multiple children, it becomes a real challenge. The same with things like learning to ride a bike. The advantages of these programs are for health, mental health, but also for independence, like swimming and learning to ride a bike. They are at times lesser prioritised as people find ways to stay afloat through these tough times. We in Brimbank have a wonderful and equipped bicycle education centre. This centre is the host of fantastic programs which include the very revolutionary Balance Bike program, which is run by credentialed trainers in teaching kids how to learn without the training wheels, which is the proper way to learn how to ride a bike. Whilst this bicycle education program, or Bike Ed as it's called, is run out of schools, there is the option to run it out of a bicycle education centre as well. Whereas a lot of schools in the West may be struggling under the pressure with teachers teaching, they may not have the facilities and bikes to teach all the kids at all levels how to ride a bike, whereas our bicycle education centre is purpose-built to do this. Now, the way the program works now is that children come with a bus, and the major impost of that cost is the bus itself. What I'm asking is that the trip for the child is fully subsidised and that every child has the opportunity in Brimbank to learn how to ride a bike. I have attended classes there where kids have come from very disadvantaged backgrounds where riding a bike is not something they've ever done or ever seen. And to say that those kids walk away with a sense of confidence and independence and freedom from a few hours spent in this bicycle education centre, where it gets them out of the school facility and into a place that's quite exciting, where they can actually learn in real traffic management environment rather than at school, where they're probably used to school and want to get away and have a bit of an excursion as well. So I've seen the kids walk away, and the teachers have told me that many of these kids, parents wouldn't be even able to afford a bicycle. So this experience is something new for a lot of the children from called and disadvantaged backgrounds, but it's giving them an opportunity to learn. So I urge fellow councillors to support that the Bicycle Education Centre is fully funded and also sustainable in providing bicycle education training for all children in Brimbank. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Councillor Dang, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I congratulate Councillor Tarkos on raising this motion. You delivered all the message that we need to send it out to the councillor. I just want to add it in some point that lots of family have issue about the young children stay with the device, with the games, and lack of social life. So I find that the Bioeducation Centre is not only teach the children how to ride a bike, it's also teach them their confidence, and also they learn courtesy, how to give way and in the traffic. And it also applies for family to gather together on the weekend. It's nowadays like children stay on the device, on the games. They need time to spend with the family in the center like that. So I support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak in favour of the motion or against the motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried. (13.3) Keilor Park Drive, Keilor East Road safety concerns. Councillor Tarkos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the motion as per shared screen.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder of the motion? Councillor O'Reilly.
I second the motion as per the shared screen.
Thank you. Councillor Tarkos, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to ask if Tony can please put that particular intersection, because I do get asked quite a lot where this is. Over the years, I've had particular traffic safety concerns raised countless times in regards to this particular traffic risks. We've raised it to the Department of Transport and Planning, seeking intervention and mitigations. Till now, nothing has really been done. This is not acceptable, and the daily risk continues at the Keilor Park Drive Calder Freeway off-ramp. Out of desperation, as risk mitigation measures are non-existent, a resident has written to me again with the support of all the users of this off-ramp that is a major thoroughfare to many motorists and some cyclists who use it and are fearing the illegal manoeuvres being undertaken could lead to a fatality. Vehicles are clearly using the far left lane on the off-ramp to jump the traffic queue for vehicles wanting to get access to the old Calder Highway. This is leading to many road safety issues and collisions at the heavily used intersection at Keilor Park Drive, being an arterial road under the management of the state government and Department of Transport and Planning. The signage and line markings that you see is not enough. Further measures and upgrades to allow phased approach is needed to ensure the flow does not allow jumping the queue and illegally accessing the right turn lanes for all Calder Highway. I thank you for your consideration of this traffic management issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Councillor O'Reilly, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Does anyone else wish to speak to the motion or against the motion? All those in favour of the motion? Motion is carried. I would like to move item 13.4. Accordingly, I transfer the chair to Councillor Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would you like to move your notice of motion?
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. I would like to move the motion as up on the screen.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for this notice of motion? Councillor Tarkos.
I move it as per shared screen. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, would you like to speak on your notice of motion?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Brimbank has 17 contaminated sites listed on the EPA Priority Register in both public and private ownership, requiring various actions. There is also an unknown number of potentially contaminated sites. The interests of public safety should be paramount to Council, and risk minimisation is essential to manage public safety and to show a duty of care. Council should also minimise their own risk of litigation by landowners and/or community members. There are examples of other councils having a policy framework to manage contaminated and potentially contaminated land, which is publicly available on the council website. This provides a transparent and consistent approach for all to follow. I acknowledge that there are legislative changes from time to time. However, policy can be qualified to take account of future legislation changes, and in any event should be reviewed and updated on a regular basis to remain current and relevant. I'm not proposing to replace the existing operational framework, but to investigate whether this should be supported with a council adopted policy available to all to implement as required. As earlier stated, showing a duty of care and minimising risk cannot and should not be underestimated in its importance. Accordingly, I recommend this notice of motion to my fellow councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Tarkos, the seconder, would you like to speak?
I'd like to commend the Mayor for this motion. I think that it's really important that we have full transparency around contamination. It's often brought to my attention, given the incident of the Kialba landfill fire, that a lot of people didn't know much about landfills and were quite unaware of, aside from the dust, what could happen. Well, the past 3.5 years, a lot of my time and a lot of people's time have been taken up with attending meetings with the EPA, and we've become somewhat landfill experts over time, sadly, because of the things that can go wrong. And if anything, if we could protect and reduce the risk to this council and to our community in any way, and strengthening policy frameworks are ways that we can strengthen this. It gives me greater confidence that we can at least monitor and prevent and be aware of any possible things that can go wrong with our landfills. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Any other councillors like to speak on this notice of motion? No, I'll put the motion to vote then. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That notice of motion carries. And I'm passing the mic back to Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. Item 13.5, Anderson Road Sunshine and the Avenue Sunshine West Road Safety. Councillor Thomas O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move the motion as per the shared screen.
Thank you. Would someone like to second that motion? Councillor Nguyen.
Yes, please. I'd like to second that.
Councillor O'Reilly, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge the residents who have advocated on these community concerns and raised them with me. Community members have raised road safety concerns in relation to pedestrians trying to cross Anderson Road at the school crossing near Derby Road, Sunshine. The crossing is also used as a connection between the Cooroy Creek Trail and the Sunshine Activity Centre. Anderson Road is an arterial road under the care and management of the State Government, Department of Transport and Planning, and carries large volumes of traffic. Hampshire Road is a council-managed road, and officers have committed to investigating the southern end of Hampshire Road to determine whether a pedestrian crossing is required. Concerns have also been raised regarding road safety at the intersection of Fitzgerald Road and the Avenue, Sunshine West. This section of Fitzgerald Road is an arterial road that carries large volumes of traffic, including high numbers of heavy vehicles, that provides access from the Western Ring Road to the Sunshine West and Derrimut industrial areas. The Avenue is a major local collector road that provides access to the Sunshine West and Sunshine area. Motorists have difficulty entering and exiting the Avenue from Fitzgerald Road, given the traffic volumes. This creates road safety issues as motorists take risks trying to enter or exit the Avenue. Concerns have also been raised by pedestrians and cyclists and local residents regarding the dumping of rubbish at the bike path near the Western Ring Road and the lack of cleaning of the bike path from the dumped rubbish. I ask my fellow councillors to support this notice of motion to create a safer and cleaner Brimbank. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. Councillor Nguyen, would you like to speak to the motion?
I think Councillor O'Reilly covered it all. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak to the motion or against the motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion carried. Item 14, notices of rescission. There are no notices of rescission. Urgent business. CEO, is there any urgent business?
There is no urgent business, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 16, confidential business. There is one item of confidential business. May I have a mover of a motion to close the meeting in accordance with section 66(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020 to members of the public for consideration of items 16.1, which have been designated as confidential. Thank you. Councillor Nguyen.
I'd like to move the motion to close the meeting so we could discuss the confidential item.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder to that motion?
I second that motion, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. All councillors in favour of that motion? Motion is carried. Please close the meeting. And I thank you again for your patience. I declare this meeting reopened at 9:32. Council has considered the confidential item and resolved that it will remain confidential at this stage. Thank you all for attending and for your interest in tonight's meeting. I declare this meeting closed at 9:33. I instruct Channel 31 to stop live streaming this meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you.